Hi everyone, this is John from Sir Winston Honeybees, and today is Sunday, November 7th, 2021, and it's about 57 degrees outside. It's a little warmer than it's been all week. In fact, all week we've had temperatures in the 40s and the 30s, and therefore it's time to get ready for winter. We expect to see temperatures again dipping down by midweek. We're seeing temperatures in the 50s, which means that even though it's fall, as you can see, we've got fall, beautiful fall in the background, the hives are very active. Look at them. So, yeah, they're doing a lot of work today. So they're getting ready for winter, and we're going to help them get ready for winter. Today's Sunday. Today's the day I have to do this, and so it's going to get done. So I did a couple of things that I didn't put on video that I want to tell you that I did. First of all, we had a lot, as you know, if you're watching my videos, we had a lot of undrawn comb in a lot of my frames. Not only that, just or partially drawn comb, plus also honey that hadn't been deposited. So what I did was I kind of did a condensation of all the resources in the hive. Originally I have two deep boxes stacked on top of each other with two hives, and I do have two queens, so we are queen right in both the hives, but I had two boxes stacked on top of each other. So what I did was I took all the full frames of honey from the boxes and moved them down into a single box. So each hive is going to go into winter with a single deep box. Right now the second box on top is just there because I've had the feeders on with the 2-to-1 sugar water or syrup, which they haven't been taking. So I'm assuming that they filled in what they need. I do know that some of this syrup was a little thick and maybe they weren't able to access it, but they're able to stick their proboscis into the little netting I have and draw what they want. So I think they've taken what they want. So because I'm only going into winter with one deep box per hive, I need to feed these bees, or at least supplement their feeding. And for that, I made some candy boards, and I'm going to show you the candy boards a little bit later. But I got a couple things going on that we're going to do today. Even though they're very active, I had planned on doing oxalic vapor treatment on the hives, and so we're going to do the oxalic vapor even though they're not all in the hive. The plan is to do 3 vapor treatments, and I'm definitely going to come out and do them in colder weather when they're in the hive, and they're all in the hive and they're clustering. So while they're not all in there today, we do have a good amount of bees in there, and we're going to treat them for mites. So the oxalic vapor is to treat for mites. Number 2, we're going to remove the feeders like I said, and we're going to put the candy boards on top, which I made. So that's pretty exciting. I'll show you those. And there's videos. I'll link a video right here on how to make candy boards. They're pretty easy. My friend Jesse Kim, he gave me these candy boards, and I made I filled them with the sugar and everything. And they're actually made by another former student of mine called Paul Youngman. So between Paul and Jesse, these are now the students have become the masters. So anyway, so they're helping me a lot. So thanks a lot, Jesse, and by default, Paul. And then of course, as you can see on this side, we've got some wraps. And so what I decided to do this year is, and this was in the Bee Culture magazine a few years ago, was I'm using this John's Manville, it's R6, 1-inch thick, single or foil-faced wrap. So I'm going to have foil on the outside, and then what I'm going to have is I'm going to have foil facing inside on the top for the condensation, and the candy boards are going to help to absorb whatever condensation there is coming up through the hive from the bees, because during the winter time the bees are going to contract and expand their bodies, just vibrate them, and they're going to obviously release CO2, and that condensation is going to build on the top of the frame, or the top of the box. So that sugar, as you know, sugar absorbs water, and it'll just get harder, and it should be okay. Some guys like to use like another box on top that has wood chips or whatever. We're not using anything like that, or they use fabric. They're not using anything like that, so I'm just going to use what I have this year and cross my fingers that we make it to spring. So we're going to go ahead and get started and put all this stuff on top. I'll give you a long view. Oh, another thing that, as you can see, since we took out like half frames, half drawn frames, it did have some syrup and some honey on them as well. And so I'm letting the bees just kind of rob their own stuff, which is probably the reason why they're very active. Some bees are still out robbing, but the past few times I've been in the hives, we seem to, robbing season doesn't seem to be as active anymore. Most bees are in their hives just kind of taking care of themselves at this point. So we're going to remove also the robbing guards. We're going to put the entrance reducers in, and we're getting ready for winter, y'all. So here we go. Okay, so here's our feeders. We're taking off. It's too cold, and it's almost empty, but actually this one is empty. Before we do anything, I'm going to remove this robbing guard right here and put that one away for the year. And then, like I said, I'm just going to use entrance reducers for the winter time at the smallest setting, because we want some ventilation to be coming up through this hive. Again, this is all the area of the hive that's going to be wrapped this year in these wraps right here. So we're going to add another 2 inches on top just for extra insulation. A lot of activity around the hive today. All good things. Active bees are good. That's a good sign. I mean, that means we have a good population of bees getting ready to go into winter. So, not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. Report happily that this is a very heavy box. And that means we've got a lot of honey in here ready to go for winter. It's really heavy. There's that tack, as you can see. I'd say confidently there's at least 50 pounds. While I'm here, take a quick look. Try to remove some of these dead bees. Help them out a little bit. I got them mostly to the end, but with the robbing guard, it's hard for them to pull them out. So there are dead bees. Not a lot of dead bees. So we're in good shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the inner cover back on. I'm going to put a brick on top of that just to seal it, because we don't want the vapor to escape. We want all the vapor to stay inside the chamber. This is the vaporizer right here, and it's a simple little device. We put the 1/4 teaspoon of oxalic acid right in here, which is the equivalent of 1 gram. So they recommend treating each box with 1 gram of oxalic acid. And so this will, sublimate it. It'll vaporize. It'll take about 10 minutes, so I timed it earlier. And we'll do this 3 times, once per week for the next 3 weeks. So try and get these this hive ready to go as far as mites are concerned. So what we do is stick this in here. We get our entrance reducer. Put that sucker on there, just like that. And then I got this wet rag, and I'm going to put also at the entrance. Again, the trick is to seal everything as well as possible, so we don't want any vapor escaping as we treat. There you go. Should do it. Put this here, this wet rag, just to kind of seal that as well. And okay. So now what we do is we're going to connect this end. Now they recommend using a tractor battery, but I have the next best thing, 12-volt battery booster, and that's very portable. So that's how I'm doing it. Black goes to black. Red goes to red. And simply turn it on. And we'll set our timer. Should get started in about 3 minutes. And then all told, it'll probably take about 10 minutes for it all to sublimate. So we'll go ahead and do the timer right here. In about 3 minutes, you might see some vapor escaping. In the meantime, I'm going to put a mask on because this is acid, and so you either want to be out of the way or at least have a mask on if you're nearby. Alright, just check, there's vapor coming out, so we're in good shape. Okay, we're at 11 minutes and should be done with this one. We'll go ahead and remove this brick and see if vapor is still coming out. Well, I still see some vapor, so I want to get the full treatment. I'm going to let that go. Meantime, as you can see, I've removed the guard from my other hive. This is hive number 1, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but we have a little bit of a snafu. The wraps I made are for 2 deeps, and I could have sworn I measured it for 1. I have enough, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this winter. I'm just going to boost them up with the boxes that I have, put these frames in them in case I want to deposit any more honey, and I'm just gonna stick them in there. So look at these bees right here. There's a lot of pollen still coming in. So these bees are active, these bees are working, and they're doing what they know how to do in order to get ready for winter. I am happy to say that we have a lot of resources in that hive. As far as food is concerned, it's heavy. That means it's loaded with what it needs to be loaded with. Go ahead and remove this now. Take this out. See, for the most part, oops, well that bee landed in the wrong spot. Sorry, buddy. But you can see the vapor's gone, and go ahead and shut this off. So putting the entrance reducer, the regular entrance reducer back on, and I'm using a hardware cloth. It's kind of a mouse guard. Gotta keep it sealed in there. So here's our candy board. Go ahead and stick that on now. This will be supplemental feed for the winter. And this will be supplemental feed for the winter again, just sugar. So these will continue to absorb moisture through the winter time and take moisture out of the hive. And that's just so that the candy board doesn't lay directly on top of the frames. So, and you'll see it has a hole here. Ventilation, 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 ventilation through that hole, and that'll be the ventilation that these bees are going to get over the winter time. Moisture absorption through the sugar, and of course extra food should they need it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install the wraps, which, as you saw, I mismeasured. I measured for the full hive instead of just a single box, but I'm going to go with the full hive, 2 box deep, and just did a quick modification just because I don't want to have to build them again. So I'm going to use these that I put here, just cut them. Just going to put them on the bottom board, and I'm going to just use these for some support. Eventually in the spring, I'm just going to leave this on there because this is going to be the method that I'm using going forward. So we'll go ahead and put these in there. quite the way I had hoped. But I'm not going to spend any more time on this, so this is what we're going with this year. You can see the bees can access the hive from below, and we'll be wrapped in this. So let's go ahead and finish wrapping this. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it off of here and just wrap it on the ground because I think it'll just be easier. Alright, here we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a hole right here. That'll allow the bees to get in and out. I am going to seal around the bottom just to give them a little extra. The idea is to kind of make this airtight, so I'm going to seal around the bottom and just give them a little less, give the wind and the cold air less space to move through here. But this will be our insulation for the hives over the winter, and I just put the cover on, seal that down. Before I put the cover on though, I want to put the hole in, so I'll kind of give them some ventilation on the top as well. And the hole for this is right here, so push it through, and we'll make that hole a little bit bigger just to give these bees to the top. So I'm going to put the reflective side down over winter. I'll go ahead and finish that up. I will show you how I'm going to finish it. Obviously is I'm going to put this on top just to hold it down, and then I also have a ratchet strap, and that's going to do it. That's how we're preparing the hives for winter. Again, we got oxalic acid vapor treatment. We obviously have to add the second box, but I think we're going to be okay with that. We added the wrap. I'll put the candy board on, as you saw. Got the wrap, ventilation. There is going to be tape on the bottom just to seal it a little bit more, and that's it. That's our wrap for the winter time. So we are ready to go. All right, guys. So thanks a lot. Make sure you subscribe. And my name is John. I'm with some Winston honeybees. Happy bees, everybody, and happy winter, everybody.